Do you
Of course, you don't want to go shopping. You find something that you like, you want to make a move on it, and you don't have no ammunition behind you because we haven't gotten you pre-approved yet. I see it happen all the time. I show houses, I tell them, look, we should get you pre-approved. They see a house they like, they're not ready. They realize they got to go through counseling and classes, like you said, and
yeah.
it's just that house flies by, and I'm like, there's going to be more, but that's when they realize, like, look, we should probably get pre-approved.
Welcome to the Homebuying Podcast with Marat from the Lending Group. Agents grab insights from top industry leaders, explore best practices, and redefine success. Stay ahead, stay informed, and take your real estate career to the next level with Marat. Now let's get started.
Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to the Home Buying Podcast with Marat over at the Lending Group, and I have Paul DeChico here from Rock House Realty. He's an awesome agent specializing in the Philadelphia Tri-County area, specifically Northeast, Bucks and Montgomery County. Paul, thank you for joining me today. How
No
are you?
problem. Thanks for inviting me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. As you guys know, the point of the podcast and just to have a conversation with knowledgeable agents that represent both buyers and sellers, give people an insight into the home buying process and how things have been progressing over the last year or so. So Paul, just wanted to kind of start off, give us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into the industry? What brought you here?
So I was looking to make some positive changes in my life, and I knew real estate was something that had that future, that potential.
Okay, awesome, man. And do you enjoy representing buyers or sellers more? What's your preference?
I love working with first-time home buyers. I take pride in getting somebody into a home for as little money out of possible, seeing that smile on their face when we make it happen. They realize they just did the best thing they could ever do in their life.
Yeah, for sure. It's really important. You know, it's like the number one way to build wealth in the US is through home ownership. I think that 75 or 80% of the wealth you build comes from real estate for the most part. How have you seen the market for first time home buyers? Is it a challenge to get into a property? If so, what do you recommend buyers do?
There's definitely some areas that there's some leverage you have. You definitely should take your advice from whatever realtor you decide to use. If they're giving you specific advice that we can't always look at brand new properties if you're looking for the full advantage of concessions. You're
Mhm.
not gonna get a concession on a home that's just hit the market, but something that's been there for 7, 10, 2 weeks, you got a lot more opportunity. So there's definitely opportunity, especially in Northeast Philadelphia. There's some areas out there that there's plenty of opportunity for first-time home buyers.
Okay. Are you seeing more listings pop up over the last couple of months in that pocket, like the far northeast or the city?
Seems like these zip codes been sitting around 30 listings a month for the past couple of months, especially 19114, 19154. There's usually sitting around them 30 listings. Definitely some stuff has been sitting for a while.
Okay. Yeah, and from a lending perspective, there's definitely a myriad of programs available, specifically in the city of Philadelphia. Philly Front Door, Philly First, PHFA, where you, as a first-time home buyer, are possibly eligible for grants as much as 35,000. And from my perspective as a lender, I always recommend to get started on that right away, get a pre-approval, go through HUD counseling, which will qualify you for some of the grants. Is that something you would recommend too, or do you?
Of course, you don't want to go shopping. You find something that you like, you want to make a move on it, and you don't have no ammunition behind you because we haven't gotten you pre-approved yet. I see it happen all the time. I show houses, I tell them, look, we should get you pre-approved. They see a house they like, they're not ready. They realize they got to go through counseling and classes, like you said, and
Yeah,
it's just that house flies by, and I'm like, there's going to be more, but that's when they realize, like, look, we should probably get pre-approved.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, no, I was just confirming. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. What do you see from like a buyer perspective? What should they, outside of, maybe financing, what would you recommend buyer be ready to like a first time home buyer be ready to look at or to prepare themselves?
I mean, you definitely want to be comfortable with the payment. Got me.
Repairs, you're thinking repairs maybe, or should they be like cosmetic stuff? You think that would be something that they should be ready to do as a first time home
I
buyer?
always recommend getting inspections. Like, of course, you're going to buy a home, and it's not going to be perfect. That's why it's a home. You
Yeah.
Never, even these brand new constructions have a ton of problems with them. You're never going to find something perfect, and you do got to realize that we got to negotiate some stuff. But of course, when you're asking for a ton of help, it's hard to ask for a ton of help and inspections as well that you got to be aware of. So there's always a mountain to climb or some bumps in the road, but we always get through it.
Yeah, and that's what I see too with first time home buyers, and I think that's like a really important point to mention is that you have to be prepared to overcome challenges, and it's not going to be a smooth transaction. And many times in real estate, doesn't matter whether you're a first time home buyer, like this is your 25th house, there's going to be bumps in the road. So, I think to your point, it's important to be ready for that, and it's important to select an agent like yourself that's gone through bunch of first time home buyer, purchases and kind of knows the way to navigate that road. Would you say that's pretty accurate, or is there something else that you would kind of?
Yeah, of course you want to pick an agent that you know and you trust and is ready to represent you. There's a ton of agents out there. I'm not saying you got to pick myself, or I'm sure there's hundreds of agents you can pick. Just want to make sure they're reliable, they have your best interest, they're always available. You don't want somebody that you're working with doesn't answer their phone for 6 hours or not even till the next day. You want somebody that's always available, has your best interest in mind, and to get you to the finish line. That's the main goal.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, I know probably a lot of people are talking about the NAR settlement and put you in the hot seat here. What do you think? What is, obviously, I think pretty much all agencies and all agents are having buyers sign an agreement, right? Is that what you guys are doing?
So it's definitely going to be a challenge. They want us to have the buyer agency sign before we show the property. Not everybody wants to sign a contract. I mean, we can have you sign it for one day or property specific, but if you're going to want to see a property in the next couple of months, you're going to have to sign a contract. We were talking at the office, like a lot of people pay for Zillow. These Zillow buyers, they want to see the property right then and there. There's not going to be time for a consultation, or we got to come, we got to go over the buyer agency contract with you and let you know that this is what needs to be done if you want to see this home and if you want to work with me in the future.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I think and my understanding, I could be wrong. I think it's important for people to know that just because they sign the buyer's contract, it doesn't mean that they're going to pay the commission out of pocket, because whether the property is listed with or without commission, is it accurate that you can still submit an offer asking for the seller to pay the buyer side commission? That's the way the offer is, and it's up to the seller whether they accept it or not.
Of course, with us having your best interest, we're going to let you know, like, look, this property isn't offering commission, especially a first-time home buyer. They're trying to minimize the amount of money they're coming out of pocket. Maybe it's best that we put in the offer that the seller pays the commission, or we move on to the next property. Not every property is going to work, and I just say that this one wasn't meant to be, and there's always another one that comes that they fall more in love with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that that's important to get out there. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because you signed something that you're automatically paying commission. Everything's buyer specific. And from a lending standpoint, right now, none of the agencies, just so you know, that really have given us lenders guidelines, not Fannie, not Freddie, not HUD. VA came out and said that you can use seller assist towards it, but that we can include buyer's commission in the loan or wrap it in.
We got Rick, he likes to be a little comedian, like the banner in for us.
Rick Hauser in the house.
It's like my cheerleader behind us.
Nice. You don't have your wig on today, Rick. Yeah, and to your point, if you're a first-time home buyer looking for help, just be cognizant if a seller's not willing to pay buyer's commission, are they going to be willing to help you? Most likely the answer is no, right? Is that what you would think?
What did you say again? If a seller's not willing to pay buyer's commission,
are they really going to give you seller assist, or maybe have to
wait? That's not the property we're looking at. We're looking at somebody that wants to sell their house and not relying on the buyer. Like I said, in some of these areas, buyers, they don't have money to pay commission, closing costs, down payment. That's why these grants are out here. That's why there is options for seller's assist. We can't all ask them to pay, a buyer's agent commission as well. So we're just focus on the next property.
Okay. Yeah, and so I guess if we switch gears a little bit do you see still opportunities for investors to purchase properties? I know the Northeast.
There's definitely a ton of stuff out there. You guys are finding stuff still on the MLS in the counties as well. It's not necessarily Northeast. You're gonna have to be willing to pay a little bit extra money. You're not gonna find something that for $100,000 when you put $100,000 worth of work, it's gonna be worth 400,000. You're only gonna be looking to make 10, maybe 15% on your flip. You spend 200,000, 100,000 into it, you're lucky to get 350, 375.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
So
The margins are tighter.
Yeah, but there's still money to be made. You just got to put the work in with just like everything in life. It's not going to happen without putting the work in.
How about rentals? What are you seeing on the rental side?
There's a ton of rentals in some of these areas. The Northeast, not so much. They get bought right up. But you go a little like down towards the Fishtown area, to 19125, 19122, to 33. Ton of rentals available, all brand new construction, 3-bed, 2-bathroom, ton of. I always suggest for rentals, sometimes I point them in that direction because it's just you get a lot more bang for your buck in them areas compared to the Northeast. Their 2 bedrooms is 1,600, and it's outdated. It's not.
Yeah, no, for sure. What are you seeing? Are you seeing the city turn a little? Like I'm always a big proponent trying to, purchase when other people maybe don't want to purchase. That's when you can get some opportunity. And over the last couple of years, I've been pretty negative in terms of the city and kind of like what's going on. But I've seen some positive changes here in the last 3 to 6 months. We have a new mayor. I think she's really trying to clean up. And, one of the things is, she's asked that all city employees return to work. And I think that that's going to spur just, economic life. Do you see the city kind of changing as well in that Fishtown area, like you mentioned? Maybe
Sorry for cutting you off. So you drive down 95 and you still see cranes everywhere. The construction's not stopping. The city's still booming, and there's definitely deals to be made. You just have to be put a little more research in, and it's not going to come overnight.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So you think you can get like better return on your investment in some of the pockets in the city and still, be able to save your equity and things like that?
Yeah, of course. Some of these areas, especially like if you're looking for a rental, like Frankfurt, Albany, you can pick stuff up for $150,000. I mean, yeah, you got to have your first initial down payment and closing costs, but your mortgage is 7 to 1,100. They're getting 1,500 for rent, especially if you go through Section 8, they pay top dollar for rent. So in these rentals, there's definitely money to be made all over the city.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm glad you're pointing out some of the Section 8 stuff. It just shows, as an agent, you're pretty well rounded. And those of you that are joining us, and are not familiar, Section 8 is I think it's a government sponsored agency that provides housing support for individuals that are not able to maybe make payments. And so they pay on behalf of the renter. As a landlord, you do have to qualify. You have to have some classes, and the property needs to meet minimum standards, that the agency is pretty well in disseminating through their website and things like that. And you have to have an inspection. And then you get a pretty regular paycheck every month.
Guaranteed paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you don't get your tenant to pay, you're still getting that guaranteed money from the city or the state, wherever it comes from.
Yeah, no, for sure. Any other like nuggets you would kind of put out there for buyers, specifically first-time home buyers? Any grants that they should look for right away or get prepared for?
So my favorite right now is KFIT. I know you're about to get that by the end of the month.
Yeah.
Just really trust your agent. If he's telling you something, he's not telling you to waste his breath. He's telling you because he's got valuable information and he understands everything that's going on. If you want to get into a property for $2,000-3,000 out of pocket, just listen to what he has to say. Might not be the first property, it might not be the 5th property, but we definitely can make it happen.
All right, makes sense. So let's say you're a buyer, how would you select an agent? What would you do? And what do you recommend other buyers do, whether it's you or somebody else or someone on the Rock House team?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll cut you off again.
That's all right.
I just, whoever's giving valuable information, some agents out there are always on Facebook. Some people are always giving you valuable information. They don't ask for much return. They just want to give you free knowledge, give you a free game. You can check reviews. There's reviews out there. There's a ton of different ways to pick an agent. Maybe one of your friends, that is up and coming. Ton of different ways to find somebody that you can work with. And like
Awesome.
you said, go ahead.
Awesome. And how do we find you? Where can we find Paul?
So my phone number is 717-823-9526. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram. It's just Paul DeChico.
Okay.
Pop right up.
Awesome, man.
Got free knowledge on there if you just browse my feed.
Awesome. Well, listen, Paul, I know you're a busy agent. I really appreciate you joining us today and giving some valuable information. For those of you that are watching, definitely reach out to Paul. I think he's a specialist in the first-time home buyer kind of sector. Definitely looks out for you. Him and I sometimes exchange texts at 9, 10 o'clock or Saturdays. He's always running. Also knows all the good spots for pizza and cheesesteaks in the city.
Thanks for having me, Marat, man.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Appreciate the time.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks. Take care.
That's a wrap for today's Home Buying Podcast with Marat from the Lending Group. Real estate agents, keep thriving and stay ahead with expert guidance from Marat. Join us again next time, and together, let's build a successful real estate future.